You got more fucking dye in that beard than Diddy wear.
That's enough.
I seen him. He shows me behind the curtain.
That's a fucking enough. All right, I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna edit this. Put a fucking
put a note on it. You can edit that one.
I want in. I need to be in, Mark.
The courtroom was already teetering on the edge of chaos. Ashton Kutcher's bombshell testimony had ripped through the narrative, and Kylie Jenner's shocking arrival had left reporters scrambling. But nothing could prepare anyone for what happened next. The doors swung open, and in walked Mark Wahlberg, not as a spectator, but as a key witness. Wahlberg's appearance was like an earthquake. Journalists scrambled to capture the moment. Security stiffened. He looked every bit the haunted man, Hollywood heavyweight, ex-rapper, devout Catholic, and Boston native, dressed in a somber suit and clutching a black leather satchel like it was radioactive. He didn't smile. He didn't acknowledge the press. His eyes locked forward, avoiding recognition. You could feel it. This wasn't just testimony. This was a reckoning. As whispers filled the chamber, Wahlberg stepped onto the witness stand. He didn't wait. No oath, no prompting. "I'm not here to protect anyone," he began, voice steady but heavy. "I'm here because I saw something I shouldn't have, and I recorded it." The courtroom froze. Judge Rise nodded to ADA Kelsey Monroe to proceed. "Mr. Wahlberg, can you explain your connection to Mr. Combs?" "I met Sean back in the early 2000s, Wahlberg said. "I was stepping away from the Marky Mark persona, and he was climbing into mogul status. Our worlds overlapped. Fashion circuits, celebrity events, nightlife. Then came the executive retreats." "Were these business-related?" Monroe asked. Wahlberg's jaw tightened. That's what they called them. Sometimes it was all show, champagne, cameras, press releases. Other times, it felt like something out of a spy novel. He reached into the satchel and pulled out a flash drive. "I've had this locked away for over a decade. Not even my wife knew. I kept it in a controlled storage unit in Nevada, buried behind layers of junk, like I was hiding a weapon." He paused, scanning the room. "When I saw Diddy's name in the headlines again, when Ashton testified, and then that Kylie footage leaked, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I wasn't the only one." The judge ordered a private review before public release. When court reconvened, the gallery was silent. The footage began. On screen, an upscale lounge, candles flickering, somewhere coastal. The camera wobbles slightly, then zooms. Diddy is clearly visible, cigar in hand, flanked by two men whose faces are blurred. One leans in. Diddy responds, "They don't get to leave until we say so." Gasps shot through the courtroom like gunfire. "Where was this?" Monroe asked. "Hamptons, August 2008, post-auction after-party. Invite only, phones confiscated, NDAs, security like a fortress." "Why did you record it?" "Because the vibe was off. I didn't know what I was watching, but it reeked of control, of power plays. I knew I couldn't walk away empty-handed." The second clip played. A hallway. Two disoriented women being ushered by a man in a black hoodie. Diddy followed, murmuring. The audio was rough, but one line cut through. "Get them in the room. I want everything on camera." The courtroom exhaled collectively. Wahlberg looked ill. That night ended my association with that circle. When invitations came, I ignored them. I ghosted everyone, but the images never left. "Why now?" Monroe pressed. "Because I didn't want to die," he said, and that's not paranoia. I saw the pattern. Whistleblowers smeared, careers imploded, people who got too close disappeared. I had a family. I chose silence. Monroe leaned in. "Are there more recordings?" Wahlberg's eyes narrowed. "I only filmed that one night, but I know for a fact there are others. Sean always had someone filming. He said it was for his legacy. But everyone knew. It was leverage. It was control. It was blackmail." "Do you believe Kylie Jenner was part of this?" Monroe asked. Mark Wahlberg exhaled. He didn't flinch. "I can't say what happened to her directly," he replied. "But I do remember a night in LA, a Fashion Week after-party, probably 2015 or so. Sean was there. He was talking with someone who looked like a manager or handler. They were whispering about leverage. One line I'll never forget. She was never supposed to be caught on cam. We claimed it, but I still got the originals." "Did he name her specifically?" Monroe asked. "No, but the other man said something about a Keurig problem. I thought it was gibberish at the time. Now, it sounds like a code name. It sounds like a system." The courtroom felt like it tilted. Diddy sat completely still. Expression blank, arms crossed, sweat building. He hadn't said a word since Wahlberg took the stand. His lawyers were scribbling notes like their lives depended on it. 8A Monroe turned to the judge. Your Honor, what we're dealing with isn't just an incident. It's a structure. This footage goes beyond a single night. It exposes a network. Manipulation, surveillance, and control. And it's been in place for years. Judge Reyes nodded grimly. Let the record reflect that the witness has presented new physical evidence as independently verified as authentic. Then came the hammer blow. Monroe asked permission to play a voicemail, retrieved from Wahlberg's old phone, left just days after the 2008 Hamptons event. Static crackled, then a muffled male voice. You didn't see anything. Don't talk. It's just business. You know how this works. The number was blocked. The voice had been run through software. But Wahlberg didn't hesitate. That was him. I'd know Diddy's voice anywhere. That's how he threatens. Like he's offering you a smile before the knife. Did anything happen after that? Monroe asked. Yes. My manager was suddenly offered a lucrative deal, backed by a media firm connected to Sean. We passed. 2 weeks later, a smear campaign started. I was labeled difficult, and an old arrest from when I was a teenager hit the blogs. That wasn't random. That was punishment. As the session neared its end, Wahlberg leaned forward, voice quiet but fierce. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because I've held this for too long. I have daughters, and I know what it feels like to live with silence. If even a fraction of what the other victims are saying is true, if Kylie Jenner, Cassie Ventura, and God knows how many others were entangled in this system, then keeping quiet makes me complicit. He turned to Diddy. You know what you did. You remember that night, and you know what was on those tapes. Diddy didn't respond. He didn't blink. Monroe filed a motion requesting federal protection for Wahlberg's flash drive, increased security, and immediate subpoenas for 3 unnamed individuals appearing in the background of the clips. Judge Reyes granted it all. Outside, headlines detonated in real time. Mark Wahlberg exposes Diddy's blackmail tapes. Secret Hamptons footage confirmed. Federal probe expands. Wahlberg names Kylie, Cassie, and the shadow system. But inside the courtroom, one chilling question loomed. If Wahlberg kept his tape in hiding for 17 years, who else is sitting on footage they're too scared to release? Then, the agents returned with an update. The drive Wahlberg submitted wasn't just authentic, it matched metadata from a larger archive once presumed erased. Wahlberg's footage wasn't the end, it was the entrance to something deeper, a catalog of secrets. When Monroe resumed questioning, the tone had shifted from prosecutorial to surgical. Mr. Wahlberg, she asked, did Mr. Combs ever suggest he kept footage of others to maintain influence? Mark didn't hesitate. Yes, more than once, but I remember one night in particular, late 2011 during Art Basel in Miami, small after event. Sean pulled me aside and said, you want to control people? You don't need fists, you need memories. He chuckled nervously, as if still processing it. I thought it was metaphor. I laughed. Then he looked at me and said, I don't forget. That's why they don't cross me. That's when I realized he wasn't bluffing. Did he ever show you the footage? Monroe asked. No, but he described it. He said you'd be surprised who shows their real face when they think no one's watching. It was like he kept a vault of human weakness. Monroe paused, then submitted a forensic report, a partial index extracted from a digital library during the recent federal raid. It was titled simply Cold Cases. Inside, file names, tags, nicknames, and event codes. No full names, but every line was a breadcrumb pointing to a buried system of surveillance, coercion, and control. Among the sea of redacted names in the classified internal file, one entry was left untouched, bolded for visibility. K. Jenner, Velvet Axis, observed. ADA Monroe didn't hesitate. Do you recognize that name? Mark Wahlberg nodded gravely. Kylie, he said. And I know what Velvet Axis meant. That was code, restricted visuals, movement control, and executive clearance. She wasn't just invited, she was classified. So she wasn't just a guest? Monroe clarified. No, Wahlberg said. She was assigned. He paused, then added something that shook the courtroom into silence. It was a system, hierarchical. People had designations, color-coded roles. Some were there for visibility, others for exploitation. Kylie was brought to be seen, but not to understand what she was seeing. Judge Reyes didn't interrupt. She watched him, arms folded, unmoving. And there's more, Wahlberg said quietly. There were tapes, but not just of her. Monroe raised her eyebrows. Tapes of who? Other public figures. Celebrities. I won't say names, I can't confirm all of it, but I heard him bragging that he had video on people doing things they'd never want public. They all come to my house, Diddy had once told him. They all sign, and they all forget. The cameras belong to me. A collective chill rippled through the courtroom. Monroe approached the bench. Your Honor, we'd like to present Exhibit 237, an encrypted internal memo recovered from the comms estate. A detailed schedule from 2019, matching the night Kylie Jenner was photographed at the Holmby Hills mansion. The screen displayed a surgically organized spreadsheet, names, time blocks, handlers, room numbers, and surveillance routes. Color-coded, red, gold, white, black. Kylie's name stood out, highlighted. Handler, done. Location, mirroring. Status, observation. Consent unconfirmed. A juror audibly gasped. Then Monroe read aloud a footnote buried at the bottom of the page. Observer profiles to be used for future leverage. No outbound access. Secure via Tunnel 3 if required. Mr. Wahlberg, Monroe said, did Mr. Combs ever mention the use of hidden tunnels in any of his homes? Yes, Wahlberg said. He once joked about what he called the rat tunnels. At the time, I thought he was exaggerating. But now I know it was real. He said, you can walk someone in, walk them out the other side, and no one even knows they were there. Vincent Perez, a former architect hired for upgrades to the Holmby Hills compound, was called next. Were you aware of Tunnel 3? Monroe asked. Yes, Perez replied. I didn't design it. It was already there. My role was to enhance ventilation and add silence insulation. He wanted no echoes, zero sound bleed. Did you ask why? He said it was for meditation, but he paid in cash, made me sign an airtight NDA. Did you ever see the mirror wing? Only once. It wasn't in the official blueprints. What did it look like? It looked like a performance set, floor-to-ceiling mirrors, red flooring, one bench, and something mounted on the ceiling, maybe for lights, could have been for cameras. Diddy didn't move, but his jaw twitched visibly. His lead attorney objected. Irrelevant. Judge Rise rejected it flatly. We're not speculating, she said. We're identifying verified architecture. The next exhibit destroyed any illusion of coincidence. A WhatsApp backup revealed a text from Diddy to an unnamed associate. The timestamp matched the evening Kylie Jenner had been on the premises. The message read, got the footage. K looks good. Gonna sit on this. Monroe asked if Wahlberg recognized the tone. Absolutely, he said. That's him. Then came another message. She don't even remember. Trust me. Just make sure her team never finds out. Even the court-martial at the rear stiffened. The silence was nuclear. Monroe turned back. Mr. Wahlberg, did you ever ask him why he recorded people in secret? Once, Wahlberg said. I asked him point blank. He said, because that's the only time you see who they really are. What did he plan to do with it? Nothing, until I need to. Wahlberg looked around the gallery. Now that this is public, I think that moment has arrived. Judge Rise recessed for evidentiary review. But as Wahlberg stepped off the stand, he said one final thing, not into the microphone, but loud enough for the press to hear. If you were ever at one of those parties, you might be on those tapes. The courtroom exploded. Doors burst open. Reporters sprinted for the exit. Wahlberg named system of celebrity surveillance, secret tunnels, tapes, Kylie tagged as leverage, velvet axis confirmed. Inside, the jury remained frozen. Eyes wide, no movement, just one unshakable truth settling in. This wasn't a scandal, this was a vault. And the door had just blown open. Not one juror made eye contact with Diddy. At this point, the case wasn't about whether he was guilty. That question had already morphed. It was now about how deep the complicity went, how many people helped him, who stayed silent, and just how far the recordings extended. Mark Wahlberg's exit from the witness stand didn't signal closure. It triggered detonation. The courtroom wasn't just tense, it was volatile. The gallery stayed packed. Not a single person shifted, coughed, or even blinked. Because what Wahlberg testified to wasn't rumor or innuendo, it was confirmation. The tapes were real. They were stored, cataloged, and systematically used like weapons. And celebrities, including Kylie Jenner, had been recorded without consent in restricted sections of a mansion built for surveillance, not hospitality. And the man allegedly orchestrating it all, Sean Diddy Combs, sat just 20 feet away, unraveling in real time. Judge Reyes, previously restrained, acted swiftly. The court has reviewed Exhibits 237 through 245. The jury will now hear a portion of Audio Exhibit 244, she said. A bailiff passed a device to Monroe, who nodded, pressed play, and the room froze. Diddy's voice came through, cold and strategic. Put her in the gold room. Don't let her out unless I say. And check the damn cameras this time. The date? September 2nd, 2019, the exact night Kylie Jenner was spotted in the mirrored hallway. A juror dropped their pen. No one reacted. The gravity hit like a hammer. Monroe's voice sliced through the stillness. That wasn't about a party. That was a directive, about isolation and control. Then came the bombshell. Monroe entered into evidence the full architectural index of the Homie Hills estate. Tunnels, a mirror wing, and a hidden biometric locked vault labeled R4L&D, believed to be the archive for off-the-record recordings. Monroe called Samantha Knox, that a former assistant with direct access during Diddy's 2019 brand events. Her NDA had been voided by the court. I saw the list, Samantha said. Kylie wasn't the only one tagged with Velvet. There were 6 women that night, initials only. Monroe asked how the list was sorted. Arrival time, then handler, then wing, Samantha said. And who was Dawn? The Velvet Girl's handler. She didn't take orders. She gave them. When asked about Kylie, Samantha shook her head. We weren't allowed to speak to them. No eye contact. Walk them in. Walk away. She confirmed the girls' robes were pre-assigned, the routes through the house were mapped, and every handler wore an earpiece. It wasn't a party, she said. It was a process. Monroe turned to the jury. Let the record reflect. This wasn't disorganization. This was operational control under enforced silence. Then came the twist. Monroe asked, "Were you ever threatened?" Samantha nodded, her voice cracking. After the story broke, I got a letter, no return address, just one line, "What happens in velvet stays in velvet," and a single piece of red string. That's all. Hastings objected, hearsay. The judge allowed it. Limited testimonial relevance, she ruled. The atmosphere in the courtroom changed. Suddenly, it wasn't just about crimes. It was about reach, how far this network extended and how ruthlessly it protected itself. Monroe didn't stop. She introduced a final audio clip recently decrypted from a cloud archive known as Mirror Lake, previously mentioned in the Ashton Kutcher portion of the trial. Diddy's voice returned, this time laced with quiet arrogance. You think they'll talk? They won't. They drank, they signed, they stayed. That's all that matters. He wasn't panicked. He was proud, like a man who believed his system was untouchable. Monroe turned to the judge. Your Honor, we rest this segment with the assertion that Mr. Combs not only recorded non-consensual footage, but stored it in a covert archive, accessed it after the fact, and used it for influence, intimidation, and control. Judge Rise nodded. Exhibit 244 is authenticated and accepted. Diddy didn't speak, he didn't flinch, but the defense had no room to spin. Hastings stood. We acknowledge the footage, but we deny any coercion, surveillance abuse, or illegal use. Mr. Combs is a producer. He documents everything. It's his brand. It was known. It was accepted. Monroe fired back. Consent isn't implied when phones are seized, names scrubbed from logs, and movement is dictated by handlers. Judge Rise adjourned for the day, but the atmosphere felt post-explosion, not post-session. Outside, Kylie Jenner's legal team issued a terse but telling statement. Ms. Jenner does not deny her presence at Mr. Combs' residence. She is cooperating fully with authorities. No denial. Full cooperation. That was the shockwave. Inside, federal agents began seizing digital archives from the Homie Hills servers. Wahlberg's tapes were sent for cross-referencing. Subpoenas were rumored to be in motion for other A-listers tied to cold cases buried in the now-confirmed digital vault. But no one dared say what was becoming clear, that this wasn't just about one man. This was about a machine, an entire industry that enabled, protected, and profited from silence. As Monroe prepared to leave, a clerk whispered something in her ear. She nodded, then faced the press. This case is no longer about a single room. It's about the hidden architecture of an industry, the rooms no one was supposed to know existed, and the people who designed them that way. Reporters shouted, cameras flashed, the internet exploded with Wahlberg's testimony. But only one headline captured what had just begun. Hollywood's vault is open and the tapes are speaking.